Begin with an alert about gambling. For many adults, it's a fun pastime, but for more and more young people, it's becoming a significant mental health issue.
Here's how to recognize a gambling disorder before it destroys an individual's life, or worse, an entire family.
27-year-old Steve Bell is a recovering addict. His addiction isn't to drugs or alcohol. Steve is a compulsive gambler.
I think when I started gambling was around when I was 11 or 12. I wasn't willing to race across the playground or have a contest on the monkey bars unless the loser was buying the winner a candy bar or, a can of Coke or something like that.
Steve's case is not unusual. In fact, gambling is now the fastest growing addiction among adolescents and teenagers.
Technology has the most significant impact, I think, on the rise for teenage gambling. It's so accessible. You can do it on your smartphone, you can do it on your computer. It's much more accessible than getting drugs or alcohol for somebody who's underage.
I started gambling on sports, allowance, lunch money, and that progressed to the point where I was in college, I was going to the racetrack a lot. I had a bookie, and I was playing in private card games. I started playing internet poker.
By the middle of his freshman year, Steve fit the profile of a pathological gambler.
Pathological gambling is very simply a brain disease. It's characterized by ongoing, repeated gambling despite adverse consequences.
Dr. Timothy Fong of the UCLA Gambling Studies Program is one of the leading experts on gambling addiction.
The person with gambling addiction creates harm for themselves, their families. We have patients that go one night of gambling and will lose an entire year's worth of earnings.
Dr. Fong has teamed with Dr. John O'Doherty of Caltech on a groundbreaking study to see how an addict's brain is altered while gambling.
I'm hoping that our results will be able to help what I do in treatment and to give people a better understanding of what's going on in their brain.
I could enter the casino at 3 a.m. tired, but as soon as I walked into those doors, I would be awake and alive, and I could go for days.
More than half of all pathological gamblers turn to crime to support their habit. Steve Bell embezzled money from his employer.
The way I ultimately got caught was basically somebody in accounting from my company who saw my company credit card statements came forward, which later on, led me to prison.
It can be hard to detect. It's not like drug and alcohol addiction where you can see it, where they're stumbling around, they pass out. With gambling addiction, it's really up to people to piece it together to say, well, why is this person really struggling?
Could your child have a gambling problem? Here are 5 warning signs. They're online for long periods of time. They lose interest in friends and activities. Their schoolwork declines. They're restless or irritable. You're missing money, jewelry, or electronics. If your child exhibits one or more of these signs, consider the possibility they may need help with a gambling addiction.